Chapter 3: Synchronicity and Radionics. Most people have experienced what is known as synchronicities phenomena or connections. Even Dr. Carl Gustav Jung, Freud's collaborator in his beginnings, devoted an entire book to these phenomena and their implications. Maybe you have had that experience of thinking about a certain person, a person you didn't hear from for some time, even years, and then that person phoned you instantly or a few minutes later. You may dream about someone and the next day you find that person, by chance in the street or elsewhere. It seems as if people, living beings, and even things share a common matrix that allows us to connect at energy level when needed, just when we want it or when accidental circumstances exist for that connection. Let's consider the ways in which we are connected and its relationship with radionics. Connections between people. Lovers, or those who share a special interest, when there is a great energy intensity generated by the excitement, typically have higher coincidences in their sense. Many people who experience a special attraction towards somebody have found that if the attraction is mutual, both individuals meet again by chance in the most unexpected places again and again until they solve their connection in some way. A British couple in love were separated during World War II because he served his country in Indochina, fighting against the Japanese army. Despite the distance, they were very close emotionally. She received a letter saying that her boyfriend had been reported missing. She was given little hope, but she felt that her partner was alive. One night, she dreamed of coming down a steep stair and was walking between bunk beds. She did not know where she was, but the dream was very real and vivid. After walking between rows of beds, she turned to one side without knowing why, and found her beloved in the lower bed, sick but alive. Both looked at each other and shook hands. At that time, she woke up, startled with the conviction that the dream was real and that John was alive. When the war ended, John, who was a prisoner, was released and returned home. He told her that he remained alive despite the harsh conditions and disease, because he had seen her appear between the bunks and gave him hands in a dream he had during his captivity. That dream gave him the strength to endure and overcome the extreme hardness of the situation until he was released. The animals and their owners. Synchronicity and connection occur not only between people, but also between people and animals. There have been dozens of cases of dogs or cats that return to their home when they are left hundreds or even thousands of kilometers from home. There are dozens of cases reported each year worldwide about dogs who return to find their owners tens of kilometers away from where they were lost. One of those dogs was a Prince, an Irish Terrier who ran from the country of Staffordshire in England until the front line between France and Germany to meet its owner during the First World War. The dog crossed the English Channel and a large part of French territory without human assistance, finding its owner on the front line. The man's wife reported to her husband about the disappearance of the animal, to which he was particularly attached, but when the letter arrived months later to the recipient, the dog was with his owner. No one could explain how it happened. Without having such striking experiences, many dogs know when their owners arrive at the garage of a large building housing, even if they're separated by hundreds of meters from the parking, and it is impossible for them to sniff their owners. Others feel when their owners leave work and head home. Many animals react to thoughts even when the dog owner is in another room and pets cannot observe the movements or actions of the person to which they are attached. A cat named Sugar in the United States was lost by its family in Anderson, California, when they began to move into their new home, more than 2,400 kilometers away. The cat got scared and jumped out of the car window. Although they delayed the trip for several hours and they searched for the cat, they failed to find him, and finally they had to leave without the animal. The family couldn't believe when 14 months later the cat found them in Oklahoma, in a place he had never been before, and without any help. The animal came very thin, scarred and exhausted, but reunited with their owners. The family had doubts at first about if the cat were really Sugar, but they had to admit it when, in addition to responding to his name, it had the same color and the same sex, and they found that the cat had a bone deformity exactly as Sugar always had had. They never turned away again from him. Beyond living things, the connections also exist between people and things, even between people and information, knowledge or ideas. Before the internet was a window to the world, writers knew that it was not so easy to find information on an unknown or very particular subject. However, many say, after wandering through libraries and records to find information about events or facts with little references, they accidentally ran into the information they needed in an old magazine, casually bought at a Sunday market, in a book found in the library, of a person met by chance, or even in backward publication abandoned in a waiting room of a doctor who the writer had to visit because of sudden alignment. André, a resident of Paris, told how he had received from his late father an old little carved silver box with inside hallmarks that his father had engraved. André had special affection for that object. However, during a small vacation, the home was robbed and the thieves took everything of value they found, among them the small silver box. André felt the loss, especially the little silver box, but police couldn't find the evildoers nor the stolen articles. 2 years later, André ran into publication about Amsterdam and thought it would be a good idea to travel with his partner there for a special weekend. André still remembered with regret the loss of the little box he inherited from his father and remained in contact with authorities in case it appeared in any raid or was recovered somehow. When they arrived at the beautiful Dutch city, they went for a walk and ended up lost in a not very busy neighborhood. Trying to find the reference street, they ran into an antique shop. When they entered, André was attracted to a dimly lit shelf where there were small objects. His surprise was great when he found a small silver box exactly like the one he lost. He looked stunned, and when he opened the box, he could see that it had exactly the hallmark that his father drew in it. Since the value of the box was not very high, he willingly paid the marked price to avoid the hassles of reporting what happened to the authorities in a foreign country. In any case, he recovered, by chance, that beloved object and closed the issue. If you have ever planned to change your car, maybe you've had the experience that your old vehicle begins to cause problems more than usual. Sudden breakdowns occur. It's like your car perceives you intended to get rid of it, and it does not mind to decompose in any way. We are not saying the car thinks, but it may have some sort of connection between us and the things we own, so our energy loads these properties. It seems to be an unseen link, and when we cut this, we stop to feed the object that belongs to us with a certain type of subtle energy. The same often happens with appliances, phones, and other items. Evidence shows that there are natural connections and other connections that can be set intentionally between people, between living things and between things. There are links that allow us to detect remotely what we want, what we need, or what we need to know at certain times or circumstances. It is as if our mind is unconsciously programmed in advance by our desires and expectations. It helps us to find what we need within the tangible of objects and data that populate our universe and physically guide us to find it. It is also possible to establish connections at will when a person intends to focus on a specific goal of any kind. Dowsers find water or metal using tree branches with establishing a certain system of signals. The branch does not find anything for itself. It's the individual and its muscles that do it, exerting a certain pressure on the branch, moving it up or down in a completely unconscious way. The same applies to those who handle different types of pendulum, sensible instruments such as detecting rods, the so-called biosensors, and the famous aura meter, widely used in rural areas of the United States to detect mineral veins and water quite successfully. Both the dowser and the geobiologist, when using a pendulum to detect mineral veins, perform a process of unconscious connection with the vibration generated by the environment. We are all connected to everything, but these experts have developed a certain sensitivity that allows them to connect when they want, using a simple instrument. Learning to use these means, pendulum rod, tree branches, requires practice and help from a person who knows the system, but anyone can do it with some insistence. We could find an analogy with the study of a particular musical instrument. Almost anyone can play a guitar relatively well with study and practice. Some better and some worse, but generally speaking, any human being with dominion over his mental and physical faculties has this capability. Radionics instruments have the advantage of facilitating the task of connecting dramatically. It is very easy to use these devices. They actually allow you to make any connection easily. They allow obtaining information about the vibratory parameters of anything and also emitting information that can correct the disharmonic parameters. When a person uses a radionic device, it detects signals using a surface of the machine where the fingers slide. When the connection is established, the fingers stick to the surface, indicating the person working with the machine that is detecting what they want. The advantage of the radionics devices is that they are very versatile and can be used for dozens of different activities, from detecting alignments to giving remedies for these alignments, from finding a lost object to knowing the likelihood that a business can generate benefits, from increasing the capacity of the store to enhancing the attractiveness of a person in relation to others, to find veins of ore, know the general state of machine, increase the chance of achieving a goal, expand the vitality of plants and animals, etc. Those who have spent many years practicing hypnosis know that it is possible to act on a remote person and even get it to a deep sleep, especially if you have worked directly with that person before. That is, if there is a previously established connection, it is relatively simple to make the subject respond to the remote suggestions. If the hypnotist also has a photograph or a sample of the person, the connection is greater and more fluid, simply because the mind of the operator can more easily focus on the target. Those who practice magic usually use a doll representing a person. To make the connection more powerful, they stick the doll with hair, nails, saliva, or belongings of the person chosen to establish the influence. The practicing operator concentrates on the doll and performs ceremonies or spells that seek to alter behavior, do harm, or even cause disease in the targeted person. Surprisingly, in most cases it works because there is a force generated by the magician and a constancy practiced by the person who commissions the work. The latter must continue making a series of actions aimed at maintaining a mentally constant stalking of the victim. So it ensures that the mind of the person commissioning the work is always influencing the victim in order to send a constant negative force to the targeted person and his surroundings. If the person being attacked maintains during that period of time adequate mental and physical balance, external influences will not affect that person. It would be like being sheltered in a well-grounded house with windows and door closed. Conversely, if the person to whom the poisoned energy is directed is unstructured or goes through a period of imbalance in their life, it is very likely to receive the pernicious influence and his difficulties will be increased. It is therefore very important to maintain good mental health, a positive attitude to adversity, and respect the rest, proper nutrition and sleep. It is the best way for our energies to build a shield against any external influences of harmful nature. Having said that, a radionics device acts on its positive side as a constant emission instrument that allows focusing the mind of the person who works with this device, directing it towards the goals he wants. Is it possible to use a radionic instrument to hurt somebody? Many experts say no, but others argue that just as you can do good, could be used in reverse. A medication may be good for a sick person or a poison for a healthy person who uses it in a wrong way. A knife can be used to prepare a nutritious meal for the family or be used to do a great harm to someone. The person who uses radionics for negative purposes must bear in mind the law of cause and effect, also known as the law of karma. Everything positive done for others is beneficial for those who perform good deeds. Everything negative, and if done consciously, ends up attracting harmful consequences to those who make evil. It should be noted that radionics machines can be a perfect shield against the negative influences of others, and especially for those who feel they are attacked from a distance by specialized individuals in actions of this nature. The reason is that the radionics device allows us to have a constantly balanced energy level. This results in good mood and constant flow of energy between chakras and channels of circulation of that vital energy. The owner of a radionic device can work on himself and others to act on all the fields shown in this manual, strengthen his or her energy, and act on it in any field, even with health problems at vibratory level. Frankly, the radionics world offers a range of extraordinary possibilities to people, including the proper physical, mental development, and maintenance from the point of view of subtle energy. In this book, you will find the most common applications experienced by thousands of people over many years of use. People who have successfully tested these radionic devices and are happy to have them and use them. Read on and find out if any of these applications could be useful and interesting for you.